the Heisman Trophy winner from 2007, ESPN college football analyst for the SEC Network. Tim Tebow back on the program, joining us on behalf of Allstate. Good to see you again, Tim. What sport was tougher to give up, football or baseball?
That's a good one. First of all, good to see you again. It's been too long. Honestly, both of them were difficult. I'd say, depending which part of the year it is, around Thanksgiving, Christmas, it's really hard not to be playing football. And around, in the middle of spring, when spring training is going on, that's really difficult not to be, in the middle of spring training. But just loved both of them. Loved all the opportunities I got, in both sports, right? Being able to not just pursue a dream, but then live it out in the moment. Even when people are like, how are you living? How is driving 17 hours in a bus a dream? But you know what? It really was. And that might not have been the best part of that dream, but it's just awesome opportunity. So grateful for it.
Tougher to play, quarterback in the NFL or to hit a baseball?
Now, Dan, that depends who's pitching.
Okay. If Jacob deGrom is pitching.
Oh, it's definitely harder to play baseball. No doubt. Listen, I got to face, Jake, 6 or 7 times probably. And, even then when you would get a weak fly ball or a ground ball, you'd be like, all right, that's not too bad. I'm out, but it's not too bad,
Toughest defense you faced?
The Steelers were a really good defense. The Urlacher and Briggs in that group for the Bears, those were probably 2 of the better ones. The Jets in 11 with Rex Ryan, those were probably 3 of the best defenses I faced. Probably. I mean, that Pittsburgh Steelers team we faced in the playoffs, they had one of the best, historically good statistical defense. James Harrison, Troy Polamalu, all those guys. They were ridiculous.
What did they say to you? Anybody give you grief? Is there more trash talking in baseball or football for you?
Football, no doubt. Oh yeah, they give you a lot of grief. I mean, some of them are really clever. I give some of the people credit because it's like you would hear the same stuff a lot. We're coming at you today, and it's. It's Sunday. You better say some new prayers today. That sort of thing. So you would get that a lot. But when it would be like original, you'd be like, "Wow, that's really good." And I would even sometimes praise them for their trash talk. I'd be like, "Dude, I've never heard that. That is really good. Like, it sincerely made me laugh." And I would try to praise them. But what I also felt like is when you would praise their criticism of you, it would be so disarming. Like, sometimes I would even get oh, thanks, or like, they would tell me how they came up with it, like, I was thinking about that at Thursday after practice. Well, at least you weren't thinking about how to stop us, so that's good,
We're talking to Tim Tebow. Where is your Heisman Trophy right now?
Oh, goodness. It just left Luke Bryan's house. It was there, Luke Bryan, the country singer.
Yeah.
For probably the last maybe 8-9 years, every year or every 6 months, I've used it to auction it off for a charity for people to keep in their homes and use it as something that they can, brag about. So Luke Bryan, him and his wife, Caroline, who are so sweet, they're a big part of some nonprofits that we work together. And so he and his wife won it. And so then leading up to Florida, Georgia, because he's such a Georgia fan, like, he would put a Georgia jersey on it. He would put peanut butter all over it and let his dog lick it off. He would do all sorts of stuff. And I was like, this isn't fair, right? He's trying to, hurt my Heisman. So I worked with his wife to get one of his CMA Artist of the Year awards, which is, kind of a unique looking award. And so I started getting that and then sending him videos of me using it as like a sparkling water opener or, a jack for a car, being able to lift it up. And so we kept going back and forth. And I think the CMAs got kind of upset with it. I didn't actually hurt it. It just, looked like we were using it that way.
Carson Palmer joined us, and I asked him where his Heisman was. He says, it's in the garage. And I said, well, why don't you send it to me? He goes, all right. So he packed it up and then sent it to me for a year, and I had it in here because he didn't even have it on display.
Oh, Carson, come on. The thing that's awesome is it is such a cool award that is so prestigious that very few people have ever had the chance to be around it. And, I'm so grateful, Dan. I've had, with all the charities we've supported, it's been able to raise well over $1 million now. And why have it in your garage when it can be in someone else's living room? And now a lot of kids are being helped with it. And, my goal with that is that it could be the most impactful Heisman one day, not by, sitting on a shelf and us looking at it, by, being on a lot of other shelves and making an impact in a lot of kids' lives. So, Carson, come on, we got to get yours in some auctions for some kids.
No, it's a wonderful gesture on your part because you would think you would want to hold on to that and, keep it in a safety deposit box or whatever. But
well, I gotta tell you how this idea started. So we're at this this gala for soldiers who have lost their lives in battle, and we're coming together to raise money for their kids to give them scholarships in Greenwich, Connecticut. And so, that's a wealthy area, and there's all these wealthy people. And Nick Saban has an auction up there. And you know what? I hate losing to Coach Saban in Alabama. It only happened once, and it was one of the worst days of my life. And so I'm thinking, you know what? I want to help, but I also got to beat Coach Saban, right? We got to beat him in this auction. So it's like, what are these? I mean, these people have everything in the world. What's something they don't have? And I was like, I don't think a lot of them had a Heisman.
Certainly not in Greenwich, Connecticut. There are not a lot of Heisman winners there in Greenwich, Connecticut.
And so I walk up there to tell the host, I said, hey, do you think it would be okay if I auctioned off my Heisman, or if you would auction off my Heisman for a year or something? And he looks at me like, what? Yeah, that'll be okay. And so we did it, and actually Kathy Lee Gifford won it there.
Oh, that's great. Who else has had your Heisman?
Well, everybody else that's had it, you wouldn't know.
Okay.
Just supporters of the charity, but those are the kind of the two more well-known people that have won it. So it's kind of funny.
How did you, kind of, I don't know if it was your family, how you grew up, but being philanthropic, it's something that you seem to have embraced for a while now.
Well, I think it was had a huge impact on my life, the way that we grew up, having the chance to be born and live the first 5 years of my life in the Philippines, and to missionary parents that, my dad is one of my biggest heroes because he spent his entire adult life helping people that could never do anything for him, and being able to see my mom, just love people. And I mean, looking back on my whole life, it's very rare if I could even think of one or two instances she ever said something negative about somebody else, and I think that had such a massive impact. And then you realize that, there's a lot of things in life that are, that can feel like everything and so monumental in the moment, but ultimately, these trophies and these championships and everything, they're awesome, but ultimately they're not what's most important. There's so many things that are more important. And I'm so grateful for that perspective because I'm someone that can totally lean towards win at all costs, do whatever it can, the drive to compete and win. And I'm grateful for, that other side that, helps me gain perspective on what really matters and never trying to lose sight of it, because it can happen so easily and so fast. And, my parents have just been such an impactful, purpose-led, heroes in my life that I'm just so grateful for.
There's 2 job openings right now, Nebraska and Arizona State.
Mm-hmm.
If Urban Meyer asked your opinion, which job would be better?
I go Nebraska.
Because?
Because you have one of the best fan bases in college football. You have the ability there to raise money, and now with the NIL in college football, that even though it's not the best recruiting base, Nebraska still has a pretty well-known name, and you can be able to rally that fan base to be able to go get some of the players you need. I think Arizona State is actually a pretty good job, so it's not a knock to Arizona State's job. I think it's a good job. There's a lot of athletes in that area. You talk about the Scottsdale, Chandler, that Phoenix area, there's some athletes you can go get. I mean, you look at all the quarterbacks that are playing right now in the NFL or a college quarterback that are right from that area. Spencer Rattler's one of them, that they've never been able to keep there at home. Jack Miller at Florida, another one. So they got to be able to keep some of those guys at home. But I just think to tradition and I had the chance to go, do a few events with Coach Osborne in Nebraska, and to see the way those fans rally. They love their team. They want their team to win. They're going to support. It's one of the best fan bases. Not to mention they're also probably one of the nicest. But I just think if they got someone like an Urban, they got someone that I think you could rally it very fast, and I think you could get more players than maybe a lot of other places around the country.
How does it help you if it does? Florida would play cupcakes, and, I don't know what you get out of playing a team that you're going to beat by 50 points.
Besides giving them like 500,000.
Yeah, or $1 million. Yeah.
It's not something that I really liked. They're my least favorite games. I love it when we see the Alabamas and the Texases, and I think we're going to see more of that, especially with the 12-team playoff coming here in a couple years. They're going to figure that out. But whenever that does come, I think you will see some ADs and presidents start to adjust because they're going to realize the more that we reward teams for playing hard, big games early in the year, and then they get rewarded at the end of the year for doing that, I think the more the ADs will continue to do that. And I think that needs to happen. I think it's better for college football, a game that I love so much. And I think also the players want to play in it. You can't tell me they want to play in some of these cupcake games. They don't, right? They want to play. They want to go to Austin, and they want to play in that game. They want to play in Atlanta to start the season, Georgia and Oregon. They want to play in those games. I think the fans want to see it as well. So I'm in favor of that.
You interested in coaching?
I love coaching. I love mentoring. I love helping. I love taking what you've been able to learn and being able to apply it to the next generation. I'd say the reason that college coaching isn't quite as appealing to me is because it is so much more than a full-time job. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to, be a college coach and then I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And for me, I'm so fortunate, to be able to do a lot of things that I'm so passionate about, my foundation being number one of, bringing faith, hope, and love to those needing a brighter day in their darkest hour of need. Now we're fortunate to serve in over 70 countries around the world. I couldn't do that and still coach. And it's just so important to me. And so while I would love the thought of coaching and, there's been some fun opportunities that have been presented, I don't feel like I could give up the rest of that.
Are the arms bigger than they were when you played?
I don't think so. Probably about the same size.
I don't know. Looks like maybe.
Definitely not bigger than the Jets. I got too big there.
Okay.
That was the Wildcat.
Did you know that you were going to be photographed with your shirt off that one day in the rain with the Jets?
Do you know how many days after practice we would stay and do stuff extra on the side fields and run and everything else? And I mean, that was, Florida, Denver, everywhere else I would go. We would go in backfields and we would run and we would train. And some of my favorite things, I would even have strength coaches come out there after practices. That's just the only place that they will get back to backfields to be able to film you. And that's probably what, my lack of awareness to say, hey, where you are, they're going to, it was never something that you were quite like, okay, this is just private. This is what they're doing over there, And
yeah, but the rain and
gosh, I know, but it just sends off such the wrong message,
Yeah. It almost looked like they had it in slow motion. So when you were running,
I'm sure some people probably did.
Like Baywatch, when Pamela Anderson would run on the beach,
which is exactly what I was going for. Definitely.
What are you doing with Affleck?
Well, it's actually Allstate, but
Allstate.
Yeah, no problem.
Oops, I fumbled it. My bad. Me.
Hey,
we'll edit that out. Hey, what are you doing with Allstate?
No, it's honestly one of my favorite things I get to be a part of because the Allstate Good Works team is a good works team that honors 22 amazing young athletes and one honorary coach, 11 from the FBS, and then the other 11 made up from the FCS, Division II, Division III, NAIA. And Dan, there's so many awards and championships and trophies that all these young men get for what they do on the field, but this is one of the few things that honors them for what they do off of the field. And so many of these young men are making differences in their community and their city, states, but honestly, even around the world. And it's really cool to be able to see. And some of these guys, what they're doing is incredible. And so this All-State AFCA Good Works team is built up of amazing young men doing amazing things in their community. And I mean, you talk about what some of these guys are doing. One of them that stands out to me is big man, big heart. An offensive lineman from FSU that's what his charity's called, Big Man, Big Heart. He's raised over $205,000 for kids with leukemia. And I mean, it's over. No, Andrew Carlson for Auburn, the kicker. They've had Carlson's there for about 40 years kicking, and it's so cool. He's doing mission trips in the DR. Caleb Williams, quarterback at USC. He's on the team, and maybe the most recognizable, but what he doesn't actually get recognized enough for is his Caleb Cares Foundation, and making a difference in anti-bullying. And so it's so amazing to see what these guys are doing, and doing to give credit to Coach Stoops. He's an honorary coach, and not only is he doing an unbelievable job at Kentucky with their program and just being probably the best of all time in that organization, but then what he doesn't get credit for is the millions that he's donated and done and rallying people for their hospitals. It's really cool. So that's what the Good Works team's all about.
You visit ESPN.com/Allstate to meet this year's roster. I have that home run bat that you sent me. Is that the bat that you hit your last home run?
I don't know if that was the last home run, but it was a home run, yes.
Okay, because I feel bad.
Why? Don't.
Okay, but, like you loan out your Heisman, like I just want to make sure you don't go, hey, man, anybody want the home run bat, the last home run I hit in the minor leagues?
No, it's okay. You need it. You have it. If you want it, you keep it there. And, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Every now and then you want to take some cuts, just take some cuts.
I don't think you want me in the cage with that bat. It won't last long. So Tim Tebow joining us on behalf of Allstate. Visit ESPN.com Allstate to meet this year's roster. Great to have you back. Thank you. Thanks for sharing the stories, and great to see you again.
Great to see you. Blessings to you, man.
That's Tim Tebow.